Hi, let's take a look at recording a simple macro on the Mac. So I'm going to go to the Developer tab, and I've set up my spreadsheet with data in these cells, just naming them. So row 1, column 1, row 2, column 2, etc. So you can see what happens when I do my recording. So to record a macro, what I'm going to do is push this button. And the first thing I have to do is give it a name. So what I'm going to do is copy column A to column D. So I'm going to name this copy A to D. And it's important to give a description. So here, copy column A to column D. I'm not going to choose a shortcut key, but if you write a macro that you use a lot, you might want to do that. And I'm going to store it in this workbook. Your other options are to start a new workbook or have a personal macro workbook. And if you store it there, you can use it in all of your workbooks. This one is going to be specific to this workbook. Okay. Now I'm recording. So what I'm going to do, I'm right-clicking here to select this, column A. I'm going to copy it. Then I'll right-click here, and paste. And that's all I wanted to do. So I'll click here to stop recording. All right, I'm done. Now, to see that it works, let's look in macros. You can see I have my macro here. Let me close this for a minute. Let's actually erase this column. So I think probably the best way is to go to the home directory and clear all. The home tab. Okay, and now I'm going to run my macro. So what I'll do is go to the developer page, select macros, and do run. There, and it worked. Okay, but that's not a very convenient way to run it. So let's look at how to set up a button to run this macro. So what I'm going to do is come up here and select button. And I'm just going to put it here. And I want to associate it with the macro copy A to D. And I'll push OK. And now I wanted to say something meaningful. So what I can do is just click in here. And going to erase what it says and make it say, copy A to D. All right. So there it is. Now let's go back to the home page. Erase this guy again. So we'll clear all. And now I'm going to run my macro by clicking here. And you can see that it worked. All right, now another interesting thing to do is to actually look at the code. So let's go back to the Developer tab, and I'm going to open up the editor. Now this is goofy because it's not really showing me what I want to see. So I'm going to move my project window over here, my properties window over here, and I also want to see the code. So let's go in here and we'll say View Code. All right, and here's the code window. And now let's choose this workbook and Module 1. Okay, and here's my macro that I wrote. So you can see here it's a subroutine. This is the code that was written automatically when I recorded the macro. So you can see here it's named copy A to D. It has no arguments or parameters, so this is empty set of parentheses. And here's what it did. It selected column A, copied the selection, then selected column D, and did a paste. And that's the end of my subroutine. Okay, so that shows you what to do to record a macro and then to look at the code that's written. One of the interesting things about looking at the code it writes is to figure out how you yourself can write your own code to do something. If you're not sure how, you can record a macro and then look at it and see what kind of code it wrote. You often don't get the most wonderful code this way, but it's all right. Okay, now let's close this. Or actually, let's go back to Excel. Now, one thing to notice is that when you're doing this kind of recording, you're always using absolute references unless you choose otherwise. And the way to get relative references is to press this relative reference button. So this shows what it looks like when it's selected. Here's when it's not selected. So let's see. If I want to do a copy with relative references, let's turn on recording. And this one's going to say, copy to back, relative. And copy the column to back to the current column. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm recording. I'm going to select column A. Oh, first I'll turn on relative references. Then I'll select column A and copy. So to back, let's say I'm going to put it in here. So I'll select D again and paste. All right, and I'm finished recording. Now, to show the difference between this one and the one we did initially, let's take a look at the code. So I'm going to go to the editor, and now you can see that instead of selecting a particular column, it's selecting the offset column, and the same thing with the pasting. Okay, and we can go back to Excel, and let's actually try running it. So I'm going to select this column, and let's go to macros, and we'll run this guy. And you see what happened here? It copied to back. It copied that one. So this one actually is relative. Whereas if I run copy A to D, the one I recorded first, it will always just copy column A to column D, no matter what column I have selected. So you can try this for yourself and see how that works. But it shows you the difference between the relative and the absolute. Okay, thanks.